All right, everybody, we are live. It is 8 p.m. on the East Coast on Tuesday, February 10th. Welcome all to the Braves podcast. I'm Harrison Smajovits, Atlanta Braves beat writer for Atlanta Braves on SI. For those who have watched before, welcome back. We appreciate you returning for another episode. For those who are new here, welcome. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you do enjoy the show, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends so they can get in on the action too. It is time for spring training. Pitchers and catchers got workouts going today. And man, all I can say is to start this whole thing. Seriously, where do I start with this? It's like, what a day, what a year today has been. When I got up this morning, I thought I was going to have one angle. I thought maybe I'd talk about Acuna at the Super Bowl, but that's already a couple days ago. By noon, I had gone through 2 or 3 different leading topics. I'm still going to talk about all of them, but we're going to start off discussing Spencer Schwellenbach. According to the Braves today, he had a major setback, elbow inflammation. He is expected to miss significant time, and he will start the season on the 60-day injured list. It is already guaranteed he will be gone for at least 2 months of the upcoming season. Manager Walt Weiss has assured that it is not related to the issue that got him hurt back in June. He had a right elbow fracture that put him on the 60-day injured list the first time. Here is what Walt Weiss had to say on the matter.
The last bullpen he threw was a week and a half ago or so, and it wasn't great. And that's when the red flags went off. So we're hoping for the best, man. And he's a legitimate top of the rotation type guy. And it hurts to lose a guy like that.
Yeah, so Schwellenbach is definitely one of the more reliable arms, or at least he was in the Braves rotation. The irony really is that he got his chance to be in the rotation because someone got hurt. And now someone's going to have to step in for him as he's out for the long term. From the way it looks at this point, we may not see him pitch for the better part of a year in a regular season game. He's certainly not going to be appearing in a spring training game, that's for sure. So the real question is, who's going to be in the rotation? Who's going to take his spot? What's the deal? Well, we can say for certain there's going to be at least 2. Chris Sale's going to pitch. Spencer Strider is going to pitch. That's barring anything else that's crazy that could happen. From the way reports have been over the offseason, it seems like if Ronaldo Lopez is healthy, he is going to be in the starting rotation. I know there's been some discourse over whether maybe it'd make more sense for him to be in the bullpen because of his injury history. He missed all but 1 start last year due to a shoulder injury. But for now, the plan is to have him be a starting pitcher. So you can mark that there are at least 3 rotation spots taken with 2 up for grabs. So who could potentially be those arms in the rotation? There's some obvious in-house options already. We're going to go through them. One of them is currently working his way back from a UCL injury. That is Grant Holmes. He had a partial tear to his UCL last year. He's been trying to rehab it. He's trying to avoid Tommy John surgery because at that point he's out for the entire season regardless. And it's definitely beneficial to the Braves if he's able to work his way back. They're already lucky that for Schwellenbach, he doesn't have a UCL problem right now. And that's a whole discussion within itself. I mean, think of it this way. Like, you have to be very careful when it's elbow inflammation or if it's forearm tightness. If they try to rush him or if he tries to pitch through anything, what right now might not be a UCL problem could very well end up becoming one. So he's going to take his time, just like how AJ Smith-Shawver is going to take his time. Holmes is a little bit different. He's trying to maintain his spot on the roster. It's a partial tear. We can see if the rehab works out. But because Schwellenbach has gotten hurt, they're going to need Holmes to be ready to go arguably more than any point in this offseason. He has not been guaranteed anything, by the way. Despite his efforts before he got hurt, Alex Anthopoulos has told Grant Holmes that he's got to earn the spots. Options are not a thing for him, but with the open spot, it makes sense if you were to take it. He was one of the more reliable arms in the rotation before he got hurt, just like Schwellenbach. And along with him, I'd say Hurston Waldrep is definitely the top two guys to watch. Waldrep came in late last season, pitched well first at the Speedway Classic, then just stayed with the team apart from like a week he got sent back to the minors and then came up. It was still part of his usual routine. But despite having looked like he earned a spot this year, he still has to wait for the opportunity. If you asked me, I would have had Waldrep in the rotation already. But I understand that there's guys who are getting healthy, already had spots ahead of them. That's just how it works sometimes. I think Waldrep will definitely have his chance along with Holmes. And there's also a third in-house option. We all know he's inevitable. I still think Holmes and Waldrep are the most likely two. We all know who that third option is. I made a little clip here just so you can see who I'm talking about.
I am inevitable.
That's right. We all know a candidate for the starting rotation this year is going to be Bryce Elder. You know it. I know it. You can run. You can hide. You can tell your children to hide in their rooms. It doesn't matter if you're watching the game from the new Braves channel, wherever that's going to be, MLB Network, ESPN, Cartoon Network. You're going to get at least 10 starts from Bryce Elder this year. I'm making that prediction right now. You can book it. I don't know when those starts are going to come, but they are going to happen, whether you're looking forward to it or not. And you know what? If you're Bryce Elder, perhaps maybe you've earned that chance. All 28 starts and 156 innings last year, which led the Braves, arguably gave him that chance. And you know what? While he has a 5+ ERA, the numbers you look at on the surface don't necessarily tell the whole story. He had his solid runs, had his not so great moments, but he did finish the season strong for what it's worth. So get ready. Bryce Elder's coming at some point. It's not going to be before Holmes or Waldrep, but it's going to be happening. Anyway, before I go completely off the rails with this Bryce Elder discussion, let's get into some outside options for the Braves. You have J.R. Ritchie. He's the number 2 prospect, according to MLB.com. At least that's what he was during the 2025 season. Didier Fuentes is always going to be an option. He made some starts for the Braves last season. He clearly wasn't ready, but you never know. Maybe some time in spring training, some work in the minors. He will get a chance to step up and pitch again for the Braves this season. Another in-house option, definitely Martin Perez, the former All-Star, the World Series champion with the Rangers. He's a veteran option who's currently in the system. Moments like these with Schwellenbach are why they brought him in to begin with. I don't think he's going to be in the starting rotation for opening day, but he's definitely in there for this exact reason. And I would not be surprised if we see Perez at some point, if there's another injury, if they don't think a prospect is ready yet, perhaps someone isn't performing as well as they had hoped. He's there. That's his purpose. If there's the other in-house outside options to look at, Ritchie, Fuentes, Perez. Now, I know a lot of you guys are thinking, okay, Schwellenbach got hurt. And also, it's probably another reason you're here because that's what the thumbnail is begging the question for. Does Schwellenbach's injury mean the Braves are going to sign somebody? You like to think it would force their hand. They've clearly been interested in a starting pitcher for some time. You know, there were word they looked at Framber Valdez. They were interested in Freddie Peralta. They liked Michael King. All of them went off the board. None of them went to Atlanta. We've heard recently from reports they're interested in Lucas Giolito, Chris Bassett. At the recording of this podcast, and I'm still checking Twitter every time to make sure that this is still up to date. But as I'm saying this, both of them are still available and on the market for the Braves to sign. Now, which of the two would make the most sense for the starting rotation? I'm going to make the argument in favor of Chris Bassett. And because I said that, get ready for the Braves to sign Lucas Giolito or someone else that I have not even named yet. I think it makes sense. He's a 1-year option. He doesn't have the recent injury history that Giolito has. He doesn't have the same playoff experience that maybe that you would hope a free agent starter would have. But at this point, he's someone who can give you 30 starts, 30 or more. It would make the most sense to go for him. Giolito got 26 starts last year. Fewer innings. You would probably require a multi-year deal to go get Giolito. I don't know if the Braves necessarily want to do that. But so in that case, I would say Bassett would make the most sense, especially if you're pivoting to grab a starter in response to somebody getting hurt. And look, getting a free agent makes total sense. Ha-Seong Kim got hurt. You go in and you go get Jorge Mateo. You have another option available. They just did that at catcher. We'll get to that in a moment. But if you're willing to do it at catcher, you're willing to do it in the infield, it makes the most sense that you're willing to go out on the free agent market and go get a starting pitcher to fortify the rotation. Yes, currently the Braves do have more than 5 options available. But this is not the type of dice roll after last season that they want to make. Go get an extra option. If the depth is being tested, go add depth, more depth, to fortify the options at hand. I think a reliable veteran starter who is effective is going to make perfect sense. Anyway, before we get to catchers, just want to make sure this gets discussed. Robert Suarez has not made it to camp yet. He's having trouble with his visa, just like with Spencer Schwellenbach. He didn't show up. It led to some raised eyebrows. Where is he? He's from Venezuela, and he has to make sure he has his visa so he can play in the United States. Manager Walt Weiss said all is fine. Should we be worried even though they're saying all is fine? I think for now we can say with certainty that everything will be like, look, if he's not here in two weeks, 3 weeks, a month, then we can kind of circle back and ask, all right, where is he? What's wrong? But for now, I think when they say everything's fine, he'll be back soon. I think we can take that at face value for now. Not really much to discuss on that end. Again, it's a big topic. It needs to be discussed, but there really isn't much to say beyond that right now. Like the next time there will likely be an update will be, hey, he's good to go. He's here, and we'll talk about him more then. Either way, the Braves have a all-star who has signed on to be their setup man behind Raisel Iglesias. Not too shabby, really. All right, for that catcher talk, this is what I thought was going to lead off today when I first saw the news this morning. Jonah Heim has signed a 1-year contract with the Braves. It's an MLB contract. He's already in camp with the team. The official word has already been made. Look, it made sense to bring him in. He has, even though his defense wasn't quite there last year, his bat isn't at the all-star level it was when he was named an all-star in 2023. He's still one of the better available options to go out and get. Sean Murphy, who, while he's starting to do his workouts, he's doing some light jogging, he's still recovering from hip surgery. We know he's not going to be available for opening day, perhaps for the first couple months of the season. They're hoping he's back in May. But look, in the end, they're playing it safe. They're getting a more effective option to back up Drake Baldwin. Here is what manager Walt Weiss had to say about Jonah Heim. He seems pretty amped to have him in camp.
We're neutralizing some platoon situations here with all our switch hitters. We can play the matchup game really well, and Jonah adds to that. But I love getting the guy. I mean, he was the Rangers guy, when they won a World Series. That means a lot, that winning pedigree. So I think it's a great get for us.
So there you have it. That's the opinion he got. They like that he's a veteran option coming to the team with winning experience. He has been an all-star. Look, obviously the Braves had other options they could turn to. Sandy Leon's in camp, Chadwick Trump's in camp. But these are guys who, if you only need, let's say, a third catcher late in games, which I think the Braves probably are going to need, even if Sean Murphy is healthy, but we can talk about that in a moment. Point is, if you need someone who's going to truly back up Baldwin for a time, who's definitely going to see action in the starting lineup at least 20% of the time, you're going to need someone with at least a serviceable bat. There was a time when Leon had one. That's some time ago. He got his chance late last season to back up Baldwin. The performance really wasn't there. Trump has seen action behind the dish for the Braves before. Again, offense wasn't quite there. They're hedging their bets. They're getting another option in there, a little more reliable, even if they need him as a third catching option. It's not a major league deal. Again, that doesn't guarantee he'll stay there the whole season. Just ask Alex Verdugo what a 1-year major league contract can mean. But for now, it seems that's where they're going with this. But speaking of the catcher situation, I mean, maybe they're trying to build up another option as well. Thought this was fun to talk about. Nacho Alvarez Jr., who has been an infielder for his entire career, whether it's in the minor leagues or it's in the Braves at the major league level, he was seen doing workouts with the catchers, and he was in catcher's gear getting in work with the bullpen coaches. He was working on his framing based on some of the video I had seen. So my first thought when I saw this, I think this is what most people saw. Okay, players try different things all the time. We saw recently Acuna was trying to bat left-handed. He was doing some work in the infield. Andrew Jones used to do work in the infield during spring training. You do different things to stay sharp and try new things and work the body differently. At the worst case, it's fun in theory to see him do this. But it looks like the Braves are a little more serious about it than you would think. I'm not saying he's going to be some backup catcher anytime soon. They're not saying that either, far from it. But they're definitely taking it seriously that they want Nacho to learn some of these skills. Here's Weiss discussing it now.
We're introducing it to him. He's not a catcher now. I mean, he's an infielder and a really good one. And this is just adding another tool to the toolbox. There's never anything wrong with creating some versatility.
Yeah, exactly. Really, the mindset with this one, you can argue, is just why not? Why not let him try catching? At the very least, you have another option for an emergency catcher. Remember, those are a thing. And they're usually like an infielder or someone who has previous catching experience. If something goes wrong and both your catchers are just not available in the moment, you have someone to turn to who has some idea of what to do when you need the extra catcher. Alvarez already plays third base, second base. He hasn't had the major league level yet, but he has played a lot of shortstop in the minor leagues. It doesn't really seem like they need another outfielder right now. You have your starters, Acuna, Harris, Profar. They're rotating with Mike Yastrzemski. You have Eli White in there. I don't really see a place in which it would make sense for Alvarez to really do reps in the outfield anyway. Why not take the time before full squad workouts begin to get him some work as a catcher? Maybe sometime in the future, once he gets enough reps, maybe he actually sees action in a regular season game. Do I think he'll see action in a spring training game as a catcher? I doubt it. Maybe it happens. I'm going to give it more than a 0% chance. And frankly, I would like to see it. I think that'd be really, really fun if we just saw different players try and experiment at different positions at different times. But that's just not what I think is mainly going to be the case. If that was, you'd probably see Acuna playing third base in a spring training game. And that's just, we haven't seen that yet is the point. But for now, it's fun. And another strong indicator here with Alvarez, if they're willing to do this with him, it's very clear they have some kind of plan in mind for him. He's not a starter yet. He's definitely more of a platoon option. I mean, look, when you go to where else would he play in the infield? Even if you took away Albies or Riley, you still have Dubon and Mateo. There are certainly other options to move around the infield besides Alvarez. but yet they're trying to make him fit somewhere that would make sense for working on his versatility, as Weiss put it. We'll see. I mean, look, in the end, he was serviceable last year. He was someone who looked very good in the Arizona Fall League. I know that's not major league caliber opponents at all times. It's not even always AAA or AA opponents in the Arizona Fall League. But in the end, he went out there. He looked very good. He got his extra action in the field after he missed the beginning of last season with an injury. Keep in mind, he was also part of the injury bug at one point. Go figure, right? So we'll see how that develops. For all we know, this could be the only time we see anything of this. It was fun for a day. We move on. But I think for now, I think it's something that's worth keeping an eye on because, well, why not? And just a couple extra news things I saw was interesting. Anybody remember Kyle Wright? He was in the starting rotation for the Braves for a year, was part of the pitching staff for a few years. Just saw he signed an MILB deal with the Cubs. He'll get his chance to get back into the rotation. He actually, or not in the rotation, at least get back to a big league roster. He has not pitched in the major since 2023. I'm not sure if you were aware of that. He saw some action in the minors last season, but did not make it to the majors. 21 wins when he was with the Braves in 2022. Do you guys know who is the only other 20-game winner since he did that? That would be Spencer Strider, also of the Braves, who a year later went 20-5. I know I'm mentioning wins. I know for those who are more on the analytics side, for the record, you need to pay attention to analytics. That's the best way to evaluate a player. But sometimes I think it's just fun to look at those old-fashioned counting stats. I mean, look, there's something that's fun about saying someone won 20 games. It's not as necessarily as, I'm going to say, marketable as someone who has a 1.45 ERA plus. You should definitely look at the ERA plus if you're going to evaluate a pitcher along with ERA and other stats, because this is baseball. You should be looking at all kinds of stats to determine what you think of a player, whether it's a hitter or a pitcher, etc. But sometimes, call me old-fashioned, I think it's fun to point out win totals. That's just me. If you want, actually, in the discussion of wins, if you're looking for an interesting article, Jason Stark actually has put one in The Athletic discussing how could you potentially evaluate Hall of Famers in the future if wins aren't as big of a factor. And he did actually talk about Chris Sale, who enters with fewer than 150 wins in his career this season. We all can agree that he is a future Hall of Famer at this point, especially if he gets to 3,000 strikeouts. But he's not going to have some of those counting stats that a lot of the other Hall of Famers of yore did, such as Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine. I'm not going to count Smoltz because he took that time to be a closer, but you guys get the point where we're not going to see maybe let alone a 300 game winner or a 250. We might not see a 200 game winner. I just thought that whole discussion was fascinating. I just wanted to piggyback that a little bit at the end of this episode, because as we look at the stars of today, whether it's, and I know Strider's a 20 game winner, but how many is he going to win in his career? It used to be, all right, this guy is in the 300 win club, has his 3,000 strikeouts, put him in Cooperstown. With fewer innings pitched, fewer starts made, maybe we eventually have to lower the bar for how many career strikeouts you get for a pitcher too. I don't know. We'll have to wait to see. I'm going to leave that for you guys to think about. Let it sit in your mind a little bit, and maybe we can just discuss it further next week. All right, let's see. No comments today. No one with any comments. So I think that will wrap it up for here. I hit my usual 25-minute mark. So a nice, short, quick conversation. Again, thank you all for watching. Those who have tuned in live, thank you for coming in and spending your evening with me. For those who will eventually be watching the recorded version, thank you for taking the time to listen in or watch once you have the chance to, when you have a moment. I'm Harrison Smajovits, the beat writer for Atlanta Braves on SI. I'm not in Northport right now. I'm in Atlanta, but in the next week and a half, my plans to head down there. So expect a couple episodes in the future to be from Florida. If you haven't already, give it a like, share, subscribe. We appreciate your support as always. We're here on YouTube. We're here on Facebook. We're here at least once a week to discuss any major Atlanta Braves rumblings that are going on from now and all the way throughout the season and the offseason and beyond. Thank you again, and we'll see you guys next time.